For those of you in third semester composition class, I'm going to give everyone another week to take a look at your essay from Unit 1 to make any final changes. Some of the things that I want to mention here in this video, I'd like for you to check one by one. Watching this video, pause it when you need to, but go through and make these changes for your final draft. So the first thing I want to ask you to do is make sure that any comments that I have left in your Word Online document, that you make those changes and then remove the comments. So I'd like to see the final draft with no comments. And obviously if you have questions about the comments, you can ask your questions within the Word document, or see me in class, or you come by my office and we can discuss it. But for the final draft, I'd like all of the comments removed. Make sure that your title is a level 1 heading, it's centered to the page, it's in bold, and the main words are capitalized. Make sure also that you have no punctuation after the title. Make sure that it's centered to the page and that the slider bars, as they appear here, are all the way to the left-hand side of your screen. All of the changes that I'm making here, you'll notice that I'm in Microsoft Word on my computer, and I would recommend that you also make these changes within Microsoft Word on your computer so that you have all of the options that I'm going to explain. For example, the toolbar, make sure the toolbar is in inches, not in centimeters, and so on. So when I go through and discuss some of these formatting changes, you can make those same changes as well. To change the units up here from centimeters to inches, click File, Options, Advanced, scroll down where it says Display. Just make sure this option is set at inches and not centimeters, and this will make it easier to set your indentations. So to set your indentations, the easiest way is to select all of the 5 paragraphs in your 5-paragraph essay and go up here to your ruler and slide the top slider bar all the way to the 1/2-inch marker, and you'll notice there then you have all of your indentations. Now the next thing you'll need to do, again, I would select all of your text, just the body of the essay, not the references. We'll discuss the references here in a second. So select all of your text again. Now we're going to change the spacing to double space. We're going to do 4 things actually. We're going to select line spacing option. We're going to make sure that all these settings are 0. So we have a 0 before the spacing of the paragraph, 0 afterwards. Make sure we're set at double space. And the 4th thing to check off is make sure that you have this box selected. Don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. And click OK. You'll notice here that I actually have too much space here, so I want to remove that. Notice I have equal spacing between the title of my essay and the text. Notice that I have equal spacing between each paragraph. Notice here between the first and second paragraph is the exact same amount of space that I have between each line item within each paragraph. If you go through and select those 4 options, then your text should appear like as it appears here in this video. Notice here I have too much space here, but all I have to do is backspace to remove that if that's necessary. Just go ahead and remove that. And make sure that all the text is left justified. So make sure, for example, that you have this box selected, not this one. We want all the text left justified. Make sure that each paragraph has at least 5 sentences. So you want to have at least 5 to 8 sentences for each of your 5 paragraphs. So make sure that you have the adequate number of sentences in each paragraph. Make sure this last sentence of your first paragraph, your introduction paragraph, includes your thesis statement, along with each of your topic sentences that begin each body paragraph. You're going to have 3 body paragraphs, so you should have 3 topic sentences. In this case, for our compare and contrast essay, each point of comparison will be a topic sentence. So make sure that you have those topic sentences or those points of comparison at the beginning of each body paragraph. Now for the references, you can, for the purposes of this assignment, just begin references right underneath the final paragraph. You can do it like this. If you do a page break, that's fine too. Technically, we should have a page break for references, but it's fine if you just have it like it appears here. If you do want to insert a page break, you certainly can do that. For a formal paper later on when you're writing, you'll be asked to create a page break for your references. That would look something like this. So the page break here, insert page break, and this creates a new page for references. Now for the spacing for references, it's a little bit different. So we're going to again select all of the text, and we're going to do it a little bit differently here. We're going to select single spaced, and then we're going to use our slider bars, making sure all of our text is selected, and we're going to do the inverse of what we did above in our paragraph. So you'll notice here that the indentations begin after the second line, or after the first line, I should say. And for the spacing, again, we're going to select all the text and go up here to our line spacing options. Again, we're going to make sure that we have 0 spacing before and after each paragraph. In this case, we're going to make sure we have everything single spaced, and last but not least, we're going to select this box where it says don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. Click OK. Now the final thing we'll have to do is create manually a double space between each of the references. So I'm just going to click the enter key between each of the 3 references that I have. Notice we still have too much space here, so actually I should have selected all of this when I was changing the line options. So I'm going to quickly just go back and double check. Notice how it changes now because I actually failed to do this the first time. So I'm just going to go and select it and do exactly what I just did earlier. And now we are good to go. We have our references. Make sure that you don't have your slider indentation bar set like this, because you'll notice that now the level 1 heading is not centered to the page. So just make sure that this slider bar for your headings, that is your references heading and your title of your essay heading, you have the slider bar all the way to the left. Now the heading is centered to the page. Now here I have 3 examples of your references, so please take this time to take a look at your references. You're probably going to have either a website, a journal, or a book reference, and I have these 3 examples, one of each. So I'd like for you to take the time now and look at your references and make the appropriate changes. These are according to APA. So in this first example, this one here, this is an example of a website. This website has an author, so I'm going to include the author or authors. So make sure that you have listed the author's last name, comma, and the first initial, period. Then we have the date in parentheses followed by period. Then we have a space, and in this case we have the title of the article or the title of the page. Then retrieved from, and then the link to that source. Make sure you only capitalize the first word of the title and the first word after a colon. If in the event you have a colon, make sure the first word after the colon is in uppercase lettering. Also, you will always uppercase or put in uppercase any proper nouns. So in the case of English, English is a proper noun, so we want to capitalize that. Looking at the second example, this is a book reference, and you'll notice here we have the title, and only again the first word is capitalized. All of the words are in lowercase lettering, again the exception being if the word is a common or proper noun, sorry. So we have the author's last name, first initial with a period, just as in any type of source. We have the year with the parentheses followed by a period. We have the title of the book. Then we have the city, and then the estate, in this case the abbreviation, because if it's in the United States, we will always have a city and then a 2-letter abbreviation for the state, followed by a colon, space, and then you will list out the publisher, followed by a period. This final example here, this is a journal. So again, we're going to have our authors, then we're going to have our year, followed by the title of the article, period, followed by the title of the journal along with the volume number, and then if there is an issue number, which is optional, then we're going to include the issue number in parentheses. So notice a few things about the text here. The text is in italics that I've selected here. This is the journal and the volume. So the journal, the name of the journal and the volume number are in italicized text. The issue number is not. Notice there's no space between the volume number and the issue number. And also notice that the issue number is in parentheses, followed by a comma, space, and then the range, the page range of the entire article. Not necessarily where you got the information from the article, but the very first page of the article from the to the very last page, we're going to include the page range. In this case, it was page 1 through page 9. This was the first article of this particular journal. It started on page 1 and concluded in page 9. Notice that my references are alphabetized by the author's last name. So make sure that you also have references that are alphabetized. And make any final changes that you think are necessary to your essay as far as writing coherently and cohesively. But I wanted to give everyone one more week to take a look at all of your text and make sure that you have your proper citations and your proper references. So make sure that you have at least one citation in your introduction paragraph and each of your body paragraphs. So as an example, these are some ways that you can create citations for each of these references that I've provided here. So one way to do this is write out according to Maidment, and then you type in your text and a period. This is one way that you can write it out. Now you can say according to Maidment. You can also write this as Maidment suggests that. This is another way. But a better way, that in fact the most preferred way to do this is to write out what Maidment said and then in parentheses include the citation. And it would look like this. So this third option is your best option, and I would prefer that you write it out this way. The first two options are certainly acceptable, but number 3, the third option, is really the best way. We want to focus on concepts. By focusing on concepts, it makes our writing clear, and it's always better to focus on concepts as opposed to focusing on authors. Now, the same rule for citations are the same for all 3 types of references that are shown here. So you could say according to Marsano, or Marsano suggests that. It's the same idea. It doesn't matter if what you say here is a direct quote or not, but if it is a direct quote, then you'll need to include quotation marks. One thing that you need to also do is to include the page number where you found either the direct quote or the idea that you're paraphrasing. So here, the last thing here to mention for your citations is the page number. So it will look something like this, page number, and here in the last one, page number. So here are 3 examples. Again, this might be a direct quote. Doesn't matter if it's a direct quote or not, I would include the page number as part of your citation. Or if it's a paraphrase, like in the case of number 2, that's fine. Again, the page number at the end. Always make sure you include the year along with the author. This third option, we're going to include basically everything: the author's names, the year, and the page number within the citation. So you'll need to choose one of these three. Again, number 3 for me is really the best option, but all 3 of these are acceptable. Make sure that you don't have too many direct quotes. No more than 15, that's 15% of all of your text should be direct quotes. I would prefer that you paraphrase everything unless you come across a direct quote that you feel has a big impact on what you're trying to say. Otherwise, again, paraphrasing is best. If you have in your essay all paraphrasing of all of your citations, that's perfectly fine. So I'd like for you to take one last look here. I'm going to give everybody a week to make these changes. Take a look at this video, play it over, and pause it as you need to. Ask questions if you have questions. You can post your questions directly in your Word document. Send me an email to take a look at your Word Online document, and I'll take a look at it. But these last changes I would make in Word on your computer, because like I said, all of these changes here that I'm mentioning with the slider are not available on Word Online. It's only available in the Word document. As students here at the university, you have access to installing Word on your computer. And to do that, you go to your Office 365 account and go to the home page. Make sure you sign in using your university account. Once you've signed in, there's an option here to install. And this will take you to another page where it will prompt you on how you can install Office 365 onto your own computer. So I would recommend that you do this. If you have a prior version already installed on your computer, I would recommend removing it from your computer and installing this fresh, and then you should have no problem opening up these documents that I'm discussing here onto your own computer. So let me know if you have any questions. And again, I'll give everyone one more week to go through and make these final changes to your compare and contrast essay.